Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It is me, Rich, and I'm back for the final talking tactics of the season. And what a talking tactics it is. You might have to excuse, there are some roadworks going on behind me, so you may hear banging behind me. They choose to do it at the most rude of times, but we couldn't not do this talking tactics. Gareth, what a season it's been, mate, and to finally culminate in this qualifying for Europe. I mean, tell me your thoughts first.
Yeah, my first thoughts always go back to that game at Fulham away, where it was so bad. It was end of fun, and I think to have managed to get from where we were there, it's just an incredible turnaround, and you've got to give everyone at them credit, all those players, the manager, everyone credit just for getting there because it's really quite an achievement, isn't it?
Oh, mate, phenomenal, phenomenal. You look at the points per game ratio, the teams that we beat. I mean, there was a little bit of criticism at times that was saying, when we went on that winning run, we hadn't really beaten anybody as such, but then we beat Newcastle. We'd already beaten United. We'd already beaten Tottenham. We got a good result at Liverpool. So, it can't even be leveled at us that we only beat the easy teams. We went about it, we did it the hard way. And all those weeks that we were doing the talking tactics shows where we were lying in 11th place, even though we were winning, to then finally get into those, top six, seven places was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think as he said, I think the top half finish was what he wanted. Was anything above 10th place would have been a bonus. And given how we were performing, I don't even think he thought he would be able to get it together that quickly. And we have, and we've far exceeded expectations. We've hit sort of many metrics performance wise that above where we really should be. So
Yeah.
it's a credit to him.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to get into it with the usual slides, your breakdown in terms of your kind of stills and sort of match of the day like analysis, and then I think you thought we might get into it. Maybe the transfer rumors have been rife, so we're going to get into your views from a player analyst perspective of how you think one or two of the rumored players might fit into the side for next season. So but before we get into that, we have hit 1,500 subscribers, Gareth, which is absolutely fantastic. We're well over 1,500 now, on the road to 1,600. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, continue to help us grow right into next season. We've got lots planned coming over the pre-season as well, transfer rumours, analysis, etc., etc. So if you want to stick with us, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And if you do want to become a member of the channel for just $1.99 a month, then please do just hit that join button and help support the channel. So let's get into our player passing networks first. And anything in particular that you're noticing, that you noticed here, Gareth, from a analysis perspective?
No, not particularly. It was sort of a bit rudimentary, really. I think we sort of tried to adapt to the way Brighton sort of rotate in and around midfield, and we had to try and sort of combat that across midfield, And again, the role of John McGinn, pivotal again. Just unbelievable. In and out of possession, especially out of possession, pressing, as we'll see later. And yeah, I sort of put up stuff. I think we tried to keep away from our stand side almost, which we're not quite sort of favourable at the moment with Mourinho out injured. But I think we did a job. It was more of a sort of a balanced setup and I think than what we've seen in sort of the left-sided bias in recent weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Only thing that I noticed there was Mings's position, and I did see this quite a lot. He was stepping into midfield to put pressure on. I'm not sure if it was McAllister or if it was Undav. But yeah, his position there seems a little bit further forward compared to Konsa.
Yeah, I mean, as we'll see sort of later on, when you're playing a high line, the idea is that you're trying to stop players in midfield who are good on the ball from clipping decent balls over the top. And if he's stopping Undav, those runs in behind are kind of negated a little bit. But you've always got that backup of Konsa covering round, and that's pretty much his job.
Yeah, nice, nice. And then our sort of player influence, Douglas Luiz, obviously they're featuring really heavily. But yeah, fairly standard on this compared to normal games, or is anything else jumping out at you?
No, you'd say it was fairly standard, wouldn't you? You were expecting to see Douglas Luiz. You will see a lot more of that. I think people want to see sort of Kamara a little bit in bigger font because, but he doesn't get on the ball as much. That's not his role. His role is not as a playmaker in midfield. He's there, primarily to support Douglas Luiz when he goes forward and to sit off a little bit more. And as we'll see later on, he sort of dropped into the defensive line quite a bit. So that was quite an interesting thing to see. But nice to see Ramsey a little bit more involved. I think that was probably one of his better games for on the ball involvement
Mm.
of the season.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and that's exactly what we want him to be doing. And even Bailey at times, particularly in that first half, like just they might not be involved in everything in the game, in the kind of the dirty part of it, but they were doing things where they were picking up the ball and being dynamic with it. And obviously, particularly Ramsey, and a goal would have really topped off that performance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, you're looking at players like Ramsey and Bailey, and their defensive qualities. They're not in there for that, really. They're in there purely for their ball carrying ability, and
Yeah,
that's what they've been asked to do, I think. And they've tried to sort of get that a bit more and more. It's a shame we didn't see more of that from Leon because his ball carrying is fantastic. It's like Jacob; it's his best quality. Just
yeah,
didn't sort of do it enough. Almost
no,
hides away sometimes, maybe.
yeah. You just think just try and simplify it a little bit. Like if you get the ball and you've got someone behind you, just drop it off first time.
Yeah,
Don't try and hold it and then and take them on, because they're inevitably going to be stronger than you and push you off the ball, which is
yeah,
then what frustrates the Villa fans. But
yeah,
if you're facing up to the defender and you can run past him, just keep it simple. Drop your shoulder and go, because he's got that acceleration over 5 yards that can get him past someone, and we saw it on Sunday so evidently.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. He is but that is, he's quick. We've seen it when he was in the Bundesliga. That's what attracted people to him, was that he could knock a ball past people and burst a pace. But
Yeah.
yeah, we just didn't see it enough, did we?
No, no. Um, XG, quick look at that, and pleasing to see. There was a lot of big chances for Villa in the game. So, yeah, that creativity. I think some of it was last game of the season, Brighton pushing players forward. And also the way that they play. We featured in our preview that they do create chances, but they also, leave gaps at the back. So it was probably going to be inevitable that we would create chances. But again, good to see there.
Yeah, one of our biggest XG numbers of the season, I think. I can't think of the numbers that have been much higher than that on many occasions, especially from non-penalty XG. Especially, this is all, none of them were penalties. The Ramsey chance was a 0.90 chance. I mean,
Wow.
how has he not scored that? I don't know. Watkins's chance was equally, I think, was a 0.93. I think so. Incredible that one of them was put away. But yeah, to create that from open play is was probably, like I say, one of our better games for that.
Yeah, yeah. And then the timeline, again, that early start for Villa again, early goal. It's been a hallmark of our season, but then backing it up with a goal, midway through the first half. But that second half, continuing to have chances, but we just couldn't quite put it away. And we mentioned back, like, before the show, it would have been nice to get that third goal, because maybe one or two players who hadn't featured throughout the season, or as we've heard today, the news about Ashley Young could have come on and given a final sort of swan song.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, what I would say about the Viz is this is a good representation of where we can see those high chances that one the Watkins scored, and the biggest jump again in the second half is the Ramsey chance. So, yeah, we can see that. And yeah, we limited Brighton. I mean, on another day, they might have got a second. I think they were a little bit unlucky with some sort of decisions. I didn't think the referee had a very good game in general, really, for both sides. I think he was quite poor. But yeah,
Lost a
on
bit.
another day, had Brighton, I think we discussed it, as if Brighton would have pushed on and played their usual game, I think we'd have probably been looking at a 2-2 draw there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, just on the ref, I think he tried to let things go, but then I don't think he stamped down on something when he should have done, and then it descended into a bit of a farce at times. And then he was kind of letting different fouls go, but then punishing others, and he kind of lost a bit of control of the
Yeah,
game, which, I think 7 or 8 yellow cards when it wasn't a dirty game in that sense. It just tells you that he kind of lost a bit of control of it.
yeah, yeah, definitely,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
and then just looking at the threat and the game flow, yeah, I think, again, kind of tells us where we kind of had our most threat, a good start in the game, a good first half, which got us off to that good start, and then second half, I don't know, fairly even fair, but nothing too threatening from either side, to be honest.
No, I think it's fair to say that Brighton come into it a little bit sort of more in the second half, which is represented here a little bit. But again, I just felt as me and you were chatting, off air, that I don't think sort of a lot of Brighton players, some of their minds were elsewhere, possibly. Whether they're going to leave the club, I don't know. But it just watching the game, I kind of got that feeling, really.
Yeah, yeah. So all in all, like you said, one of our strongest performances at home, and it was really pleasing to see at the most important time. And while I get this screen up in terms of your analysis, just 7 home wins in a row is just absolutely incredible, isn't it?
It is considered, and again, I reflect back to November against Fulham, where and the weeks leading up to that, where we were just so bad, and yet
Mm,
sort of the turnaround has just been incredible. You can't sort of expect. It take me hours and hours to explain sort of the nuances, why and how, but it's just the
mm.
turnaround's been fantastic.
Yeah, just brilliant, mate, brilliant. So onto some of the points that you kind of wanted to raise. Um, I think a lot of it is fairly similar to what we've seen and what we've analysed over the course of the season. But you just wanted to pick out first of all Villa's high press and what did that do for us? What did that allow us to do?
Yeah, obviously, publicly, we can only sort of do so much, really, because we're at the end of the season, we're going to pretty much be going over old ground. But that's what we like to do, because then we can see the trends that are appearing and people can see that week on week, this is what we like to do. This is where we've improved upon, and this is what he started to implement as we go on. And the high press in recent weeks has been something that sort of we've really sort of come to terms with, and we've managed to use quite well. But a lot of this depends on John McGinn, as it did again on Sunday. Fantastic out of possession, really was sort of pressing up with Watkins, but knew when he could drop off. He was sort of almost, and we've discussed it before, where he was almost doing 2 roles,
Mm,
where he was dropping in against Liverpool to drop onto Fabinho, but yet he was quite happy to move into press onto Trent as well. And we sort of see the same thing again with McAllister on Sunday.
yeah, brilliant. He was absolutely fantastic, McGinn, and you see here like the intensity that he shows
Yeah,
it's just phenomenal, to be honest. Is this before the second goal, isn't it? This is the tackle,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the build up, and I wanted to
Yeah.
highlight this because it was immense. As soon as he's made that tackle, Ramsey's on his way. He's on his bike, and he's going to, I think a couple of passes are interchanged here before, but obviously the ball ends up going out to Ramsey, who sort of makes that burst, as we know, and squares it to Ollie Watkins. But this is all down to John McGinn again, pressing in
Yeah.
midfield, pressing McAllister. It wasn't a foul. It could have been, but it wasn't given as a foul. And yeah, look what comes of it. This is the rewards that you're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think you have the tackle here from McGinn. Then he presses the ball here,
Yeah.
forces the player to give it away. Bailey's on his toes and he plays a first time pass into Ramsey. And like you say, needs Ramsey to get on and think and anticipate that he could get on the end of it. And then obviously, simple goal. But it like you say, it starts in this area and these 4 players were all involved, which is great to see.
Yeah, and this is where this is like I say, this is where a high press reaps its rewards, because you've only got literally 2 Brighton centre halves back there.
Mm.
It's good night nurse. It's game over, because as soon as that's the rewards you're going to get.
Yeah, a great goal, which shows how simple it is at the end, but how how much work goes into it. Um, Looking at this, the dropping in is this, and I guess this is the kind of the importance of an organised line here. I would say defensive line.
Yeah, I spoke about earlier about Boubacar Kamara dropping into the defensive line,
Oh
and this is
yes,
what he was.
yes,
Yeah, this is what he was doing. Because he didn't have to sort of join that press. He didn't have to join that high press. The body that sort of makes that extra in midfield, because of the back 4 is then so wide. Cash for me still needs to come further out, and this is positionally, this is where we're sort of he does struggle a little bit in that sort of that high line. So if he does come out here, that's why Kamara is filling that space.
yeah. Again, I do worry sometimes about Cash's like body positioning, like, and his eyes are blatantly on the ball there. I know it's a different side, but look at Digne. He can see man and ball. Cash can't see the man at all. So I guess he's hoping that because he's in line with he's in line with the defensive line. Then anything else he'll be offside. But the player can see the number on the back of his shirt, and you don't want that. You don't want
No,
that.
I think the instructions that he's obviously a little bit nervy about keeping. He was more sort of wants to keep in line with his defenders. He's more worried
Mm,
about being that deeper. He wants to, he doesn't want to sort of break the offside trap, if you like, by being the deepest midfielder, deepest defender, and playing the Brighton player onside. So he looks like he's more concentrated in that. But I do wonder whether Emery has addressed that, because he knows that Cash is a little bit sort of, like his positioning is not great, and he has asked then Kamara to drop in. I'm not sure.
yeah, maybe so, maybe so. I know, like you're going to cover it here, like the slight high line issues, and maybe a Kamara being in there maybe shuts off some of the gaps, but it could be to do with that as well. But yeah, what would I know? Ian Wright got a lot of criticism from Villa fans for talking about the high line. You've put minor in brackets here, so I guess you don't want to get too much to annoy the Villa fans too much, but yeah, we did have slightly issues with the high line this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Wright was, scored plenty of goals for Arsenal, played on the shoulders of defenders for many years. I think he sort of needs to be talked to. He's right in what he says in the matter of aspect, but it's about, like we've talked about it before, it's all about communication and getting things right and making sure you're rigid. And that's coming. It is really good, but you're always going to get this. You're always going to get
Mm,
centre forwards running off of thing, but you can see they're a little bit not quite right there.
mm.
It's if you're going to play a high line at that point outside your edge of your box, which you really probably shouldn't be anyway. You should really be dropping off anyway at that point, because there's not enough space to run into anyway. So you might as well drop off. So yeah, there's certain issues that just need to be ironed out. But again, I'm being a bit picky, aren't I?
Yeah, little bit, but I do like if you drop off, say 5 yards from there, it means that the Enciso has to have a shot. Now, he's not going to hit a shot like he hit against Man City every week. He's just not. But because you've got constant engaging, almost like engaging with the ball. He's not quite. He's then leaving that gap there, and obviously Mings is slightly deeper. So yeah, it's good play. It is good play, but it's just slightly we're just slightly caught in no man's land there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm like I say, I'm being picky, but I sort of have issues with high lines that when you're that deep outside your, that's risky business, because quality teams will sort of pick that apart.
Yeah, yeah, and then finally, um, just on is this more kind of the like the lack of rigidity, so to speak, on our defensive line here? You're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I mean, again, I'm being picky, aren't I? But I mean, it is, if you're going, this is the place where the high line, because you're inside. He's running from inside his own half, so that line has got to be spot on.
Mm,
So it's a
mm.
tricky one, and it'll roll on, obviously.
The body position here for me again, like he
Yeah,
can't see the player
yeah,
behind him. Now I know it's difficult, I really do, but it's so important just to open up a tiny bit, just so you can see that player there,
yeah.
because otherwise you if this ball's better, he's totally in. Like there's no way he's getting through.
Yeah, and this is why, like I said, I am being picky, but this is what the sort of things that we pick up when we're doing sort of analysis and video reviews in meetings and stuff like that. You have to be aware that things like this, they need to be addressed.
Mm. Now, one thing I think this was I think either this was a pass where Martinez came out and headed it. So sometimes your goalkeeper can help with that. But yeah, it's definitely something to look at. But yeah, I mean, like you say, mate, being very very picky in terms of that, because there wasn't a lot to say that was wrong with the performance. We did what we needed to do. We got a great result against Brighton, got us into European football, which is, I know, like you said at the start, something that we couldn't have dreamed of when Emery first came in. A slightly complicated route to the Europa Conference League. We don't quite know if we're going to be playing a really good side. I think Juventus might be in it this year, or we're going to be playing, one of the sort of the lower level European sides. But even so, it's just great to have it. But on that note, I did want to just delve into a little bit of detail. We've obviously seen quite a few rumours of whether it's Pau Torres, whether it's Dani Ceballos, and the one that's really been gathering pace is Asensio. From a one, is there anything that you've heard on this? And two, from a analysis perspective, are those the type of players that we kind of need in the squad from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean Torres. Obviously, we're going to need another centre half. I think. There are more pressing sort of positions that are going to need to be filled, especially at right back now. I think that Ashley Young is going to
Yeah,
leave. So Asensio is obviously a great signing. I'm not so sure how much legs that's got. I mean, I don't know. It would be a bit of a surprise to me. I mean, he's Champions League level player. He's had a bit of a rough old season with injuries and stuff like that in the past, but it'd be a bit tricky for me. Lo Celso and Sabas don't excite me. I've got to be honest. I think there's probably a little bit better out there. I mean, the Guendouzi one is interesting for me because that's gone quiet. And when things go quiet, we tend to sign players.
yeah. You still quite, from all the talking tactics and the transfer specials we've done, you've always been one that said, Guendouzi is one not to go to sleep on, so to speak. You think that one's got real legs,
Yeah, I
and
do.
a
Yeah.
player who can fit into what Emery likes to do with Villa. You can see what he wants from his midfielders. Um, and again, that Asensio one, like you said, would be great signing. Maybe it's a Coutinho, like get rid of Coutinho's wages and bring that kind of star level player in. But is he going to be able to do that, closing down that pressing that Emery wants? I'm not so sure.
No, I mean, he's like I say, he had a lot of trouble with injury. I think he had quite a bad knee injury, didn't he, or something along those lines,
Yeah.
and didn't play a lot of minutes last year. And sort of not really, from people I've spoken to in Spain, that he's not the same player that he was. I mean, whether Emery can get him back to that, I don't know. But Lo Celso, did he excite people at Tottenham? Not really. Sabas, did he? Is he better than what we've got in midfield already? Luis Kamara? No, he's not. So people I think it's more sort of attacking minded players that we're going to be sort of. I think the midfield is pretty much set. Add Guendouzi in there, I think, and things like that. And players like Ugate's, they're not going to come to pay. They're going to go to Champions League. But,
Yeah.
so it's not really a done thing. I think we're looking at more sort of players that are a little bit less than that. People, just right backs. I think a right back is a real addition, and if we can get sort of a different Kangin over the line, for instance, Guendouzi over the line, another centre forward over the line, that'll be decent. I mean, we've escaped with the player Danjuma at Tottenham. I said we shouldn't have got him, and it's proved to be the case. I think he's been poor. So, yeah, I think it's more attack-minded players we're going to be having a look at more so.
Brilliant. Well, look, hope we will certainly be back for your knowledge on potential transfer rumors, and from a real analyst perspective, and where they would fit in, because we do have a manager that really looks into that kind of thing, and he's going to be really careful about the players that he brings in, and not necessarily scattergun like other managers at Villa have been or other clubs have been. So it's great to see. Gareth, I just wanted to say, first of all, a massive thank you for these shows over this season, man. It has been absolutely brilliant, the effort that you've put into it. I'm sure all the viewers and the comments that we've had would echo that. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you, mate, for your effort on the show. It's been tremendous, this Talking Tactics show.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't do anything. I just do a couple of visit and then you guys do the rest. So I mean, I can't take all the credit. Yeah, no, it's been enjoyable. And I think from what we've got, the feedback we've got and everything, the viewer count going up and the subscribers going up, it's been great, but I can't take all the credit. You guys have done the most of it.
Thank you, mate. Well, look, I'm sure we'll be back over the summer for more, like I say, transfer rumor talk. And there might even be more shows next year because we're in Europe, as we keep saying. So keep your eyes peeled for the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. If you want to become a member, then please hit that. Thanks, everyone.